So you're just driving home from work, minding your own business, when all of a sudden a car comes out of nowhere right in front of you. With cars in the lanes all around you, there's nowhere for you to go to avoid a crash. For many of us, this has never happened before, and now you find yourself stuck on the side of the road wondering, what now? How you handle this situation could make all the difference between a little recovery from the insurance company or a lot. As a former insurance lawyer for 10 years, now turned injury lawyer for over 15 years, I've seen thousands of cases where people have had to make these same decisions. And in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do after a car accident to protect both yourself and your claim. So let's dive in. Number 1, from a legal standpoint, the first thing you must do after a car accident is stop your vehicle at the scene of the crash or as close to the scene of the crash as possible. In the state of Florida, this is actually the law, and it applies regardless of whether you are involved in a small fender bender with no injuries or if you're involved in a more severe crash where someone was hurt. In fact, in Florida, a hit and run with only property damage is classified as a second-degree misdemeanor with penalties of up to 60 days in jail and a $500 fine. But if someone was hurt in the crash, things get worse because the penalty escalates to a third-degree felony with up to 5 years in prison or 5 years of probation and a $5,000 fine. And God forbid, if death happens, it's then a first-degree felony with up to 30 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. So needless to say, if you're involved in a crash, you're going to want to stop. Number 2, now that you've stopped your vehicle at or near the scene of the crash, make sure that the place where you stopped is safe, and if not, move your vehicle to a safe location nearby. This is the law in Florida as well. Florida law requires drivers to make every reasonable effort to ensure that their vehicle is not blocking traffic after an accident. Of course, if your car can't move, it'll have to get towed later. This may seem obvious, but I can't tell you how many times I've seen what appears to be a simple rear-end accident with both cars still sitting parked in the lane of travel and the drivers standing outside talking. This is fine if your vehicle is inoperable, but if it is, you actually do have a legal duty to make every reasonable effort to ensure that your car is not blocking traffic. The reason you don't want to block traffic is not only to prevent traffic congestion in that area, but also to ensure that no other vehicles crash into you and that nobody else gets hurt. Number 3, after a crash, even if you think it's just a minor fender bender, you need to call the police. Although this is not a law, it's still highly recommended for several reasons. First of all, many people won't know right away after an accident if they're injured or not, because a lot of times it may take 2 or 3 days or maybe even a week or so before you have any symptoms. If you then contact the insurance company with an injury claim, they're likely going to try to say that you weren't injured in the crash because it wasn't bad enough, and they know this because you didn't even bother to call the police. Of course, we know better, but you can avoid this by just calling the police and getting a report. Secondly, calling the police is important because it's your chance to document the crash and get everyone's version of what happened, including any eyewitnesses. This is extremely important because people often forget things or they even change their story. By having a police report, you at least have documentation to support what actually happened. And lastly, if you've been injured or are feeling any pain at the scene, even if it seems minor and you think it'll just go away, the police report is your first opportunity to document, and I stress that word because in every insurance claim, documentation is key, but the police report is your first chance to document any complaints that you may have right after the crash. And let me give you an example of why that's important. A few years back, I had a jury trial in a car accident case where my client was claiming both neck and back injuries. The insurance company fought the neck injury hard, claiming it wasn't related to the crash because my client's medical records didn't even reference any neck complaints until about 6 weeks after the crash. However, the police report that was done right after the crash, that documented that my client complained of both neck and back pain at the scene. That's the only reference of neck pain for the next 6 weeks. Now, we got into a lot of argument as to whether that statement made to the police at the scene was admissible for the jury to hear, but the judge ultimately allowed it, and because of that, we were able to get a verdict just shy of $2 million. Without that police report, there would have been nothing linking the neck injury to that crash. So, no matter how bad your accident is, it's always best to call the police. Number 4, take photographs. Everybody knows that they should take photos of their car after an accident, but there are also many other photos that you should take as well. After a crash, it's important to fully document with either photos or video all the damage to your vehicle and to all the other vehicles involved in the crash. This is important because oftentimes the other vehicle will have more damage to it than yours. And if this was a minor impact crash, being able to show the other vehicle with more damage will help show the insurance company that your crash was more serious than the damage to your car reflects. Other photos or video you should take include photos or videos of the roadway, which will show the conditions of the road as they existed at the time of your crash, as well as any skid marks. You should also take photos of any construction taking place at or around the scene and of any construction trucks for identification purposes. Also take photos of any landscaping in the area that may have impeded anyone's vision or otherwise contributed to the accident, and photos of any buildings, as there may be surveillance cameras on or around those buildings that could have captured the crash. And lastly, number 5, call a lawyer. And I don't recommend this just to drum up business. I recommend it as it is a proven fact that people who hire a lawyer after a car accident simply recover more money than if they didn't. In fact, according to the Insurance Research Council, which is a resource used by insurance companies and which provides research and data to the entire insurance industry, according to their research and analysis, people who hire a lawyer after a car accident recover on average 3.5 times more than people who don't. And I can tell you from my 26 years of experience as a lawyer, that number's low, because I've personally seen many clients of mine who were only offered several $1,000s recover 6-figure settlements after hiring my firm, and they never would have gotten that without a lawyer. Now that you know what steps to take right after a car accident that will set you up for success on your insurance claim, be sure to check out this next video for some great tips on what to do during the course of your claim to help you win your case.